Hi everyone, we decided to start this video with a little mini tour of our apartment in Medellin and to give a little background on our trip back to the US. So in late February, when all countries around the world were starting to close their borders, we had to decide whether or not we would stay in Colombia or rush to get back to the US. Ultimately, we decided to stay in Colombia for a while for a few different reasons. One of the biggest reasons being the response that we saw in Colombia was a lot quicker and earlier than it was back in the US. So that made us comfortable with the action that the government was taking there with regards to the coronavirus. Two, there were a ton of people traveling at that time, and it would have been a lot more risk to our health as far as exposure to the virus, as well as exposing our loved ones back home to the virus. We also had a couple months left on our visitation in Colombia, so we had time that we could stay in the country without any issues. And overall, the cost of living in Colombia was a lot less than being back in the US, so it just made sense to kind of wait things out for a little bit. Ultimately, as everyone knows, getting back to normal doesn't seem to be a thing at this point, and so we decided that it made more sense to come back home to the US for a little while. This was home for the last 45 days or something like that. But now it's time for us to go downstairs and catch a taxi, and we'll be on our way to the airport. So we'll take you along the way. All right, so this is the look for the next, I don't know, probably 10 or 12 hours. It's almost 10 o'clock now, so we're getting ready to head to the airport. And then our flight is supposed to leave at about 1:45. 1:45? 1:41 or something, and then we get to Fort Lauderdale at about 6:30, so we'll keep you updated along the way. Once we got to the airport, we waited in a line outside. There were some nurses around, and they took our temperatures. And then once we got done with that, we went through security at the front door. After waiting in a very long line, well, it wasn't that long, but it just took a long time. And then, you have to space out and everything. So we just got through security. Yep. And now we are in the emptiest airport I've ever been in. But so far, so good. We're walking up to check our bags now. Everything was completely closed in the airport. Even the majority of the restrooms and everything were closed up except for certain areas. All right, so there was actually one store open. Forgot to get footage of that, but they told us before we came over here to where the gates are that there is one store open. So we went, got a couple bottles of water and everything, which is great. We brought our own snacks just in case, but we definitely needed some water, so that was good. But this airport is completely empty pretty much. But now we're walking to our gate, so we'll see what happens when we get there. This is what social distancing looks like at the airport. There is mad space in between everybody. All right, guys, now we're on the jet bridge. We just went through our final check, and yeah, so now we're getting on the plane. So in about maybe 4 hours or so, it's a 3.5 hour flight. Give you another update. Fun fact, going into the gate was the first time somebody asked us to take off our masks to actually see what we look like. Our flight did not have any passengers in the middle seat like you may have seen on the news or, other forms of media. As far as the arrangements for the flight, we were notified via email that we subscribed to from the U.S. Embassy in Bogota. And then for general travel updates, we signed up for the STEP program from travelstate.gov. And that just gives you general notifications about specific countries for international travel.
Enjoy this flight. We wish you a pleasant stay in Fort Lauderdale or wherever your final destination may be, and enjoy the rest of your day.
got to the rental car now, so we just did like a look over or whatever. We wiped it down, of course, with some wipes and everything. So now begins the journey to find some food, and then we will hit the road. To make a long story short, we drove all night back up to Atlanta, which is our home base. We ended up dropping the rental car off around 9 o'clock the next morning. Reason being, it just made sense from a scheduling standpoint rather than trying to catch a flight from Fort Lauderdale. Also, it was just less traveling with other people, which we preferred as far as possible exposure. So now we've quarantined for a couple weeks, so we're good to be around the family. And we're still putting up new content on thebaileysgo.com, so please check that out. In the meantime, we'll post the update soon, and thanks for watching. Peace.